All right, it's 20 minutes before 9 on this Friday morning. So South Africans who are living abroad will be voting tomorrow at various embassies across the globe. Today is 11 days until the nation goes to the polls in a very hotly contested elections. But how ready is the IEC for the elections? In studio with us, we've got the IEC Chief Electoral Officer, Mamabolo. Always good to see you, Si. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
So, I cannot believe it. South Africans living abroad go and vote tomorrow.
Yes, 29,000 of them have indicated their wish to vote abroad. And all missions have confirmed readiness, all logistics, all ballot papers have been received. And Auckland in New Zealand will be the first station where voting will be happening tomorrow.
Yeah, so let's talk to sort of numbers and areas that we're looking at. So you've got 29,000 people. Who has the most, or where are the most registered people?
The most registered people are in London, so they'll be voting at the mission in London, just in front of the Trafalgar Square. We've made good preparation, and everybody should be able to cast their vote without difficulty there tomorrow.
Okay, so London is the most, I imagine.
Followed by Dubai at 1.5. London has 9,000 odd people, and the second is Dubai with 1,005. Then the Netherlands, 1,003. And then Canberra and Abu Dhabi, just over 1,000.
That is fascinating, because I think a lot of people would want to know, like, where in the world are South Africans located that still want to vote, still want to participate in South Africa's elections and the electoral system. And, you know, the reasons that a lot of people are away, I imagine some for work or some have relocated permanently.
Indeed, there's a huge South African expatriate community in the UK in general. Because of our historic ties, one presumes, with the United Kingdom. There are students, there are those that are working, and of course those who may feel uncomfortable with the political, economic direction of the country. But they remain South Africans, and they remain with the right to vote in terms of the Constitution.
Logistically, how does it work? Because obviously we know that when elections are happening, the votes are counted at the particular polling station. They are then sent to the IEC. But when we're talking overseas, how exactly does that work?
After voting at the missions, the ballots will be sealed in double envelopes and returned back to South Africa. And once all ballots are back, we will convene party agents and do a verification of all the ballots that were cast, and they'll then be counted. It's a process that will take approximately 2 to 3 days to count all the ballots from the missions.
Okay, so it's counted here in South Africa. Can South Africans vote at embassies, or it's already they know where they're going to vote? So it's not that they have to vote at an embassy or a consulate or any other diplomatic office?
It has to be, in law, it has to be an embassy, high commission or consulate, because in terms of international law there is territory of the Republic. So these votes, although happening all over the world, they're happening on South African soil. Throughout the world at 121 missions.
Yeah, all right. So sounds like you're ready. Sounds like things are ready for the people to go and vote internationally. But here, 11 days to go. It's not a very long time, is it? How are you guys looking?
Well, we're looking good. And we want to assure South Africans that we have done everything that we needed to do to ensure that come 8th May, they are able to express their political choices in a manner that is efficient, in a manner that is not characterized by let or hindrance. And they'll make, is their day, is the day of the voter, and the voter must come and express themselves in a manner that they see fit for the future of our country. All is said and all will be done.
I know that there are still issues that the IEC are working on, particularly with regard to complaints from various political parties. How is that going? And what are some of the sticking blocks or major issues that you have to deal with?
Look, the complaints, we are attending to them. Most of them have been referred for investigation by firms on our panel of attorneys and so on. And we will conclude those before we go to the elections themselves. I think, Leanne, it's important that the entirety of the political community in our country realizes the need for the Electoral Commission to stay outside of the contest and not be a player in the contest, but rather be a referee and be seen to be precisely that. And it's important, therefore, that in the manner in which we communicate, in the manner that we raise objections, we realize the need for the Electoral Commission to remain as an independent and impartial body that oversees the election. That's what we are trying to protect.
Certainly.
And I guess that's what South Africans want the IEC to be.
Absolutely.
An independent and impartial body capable of delivering an efficient voting process for its citizens.
Without a shadow of a doubt. And that's why I imagine the political parties turn to you as an independent entity to look into certain complaints. And one of the big ones that I think many are hearing about and you are fully aware of is the DA coming to you with a complaint that they have got evidence that the ANC were funding the protests that were happening in Alex. Let's look at that. I don't want to obviously put you on a spot in terms of talking about exactly what it is they're saying that they have in terms of evidence, but how far are you with those investigations? And I imagine you're looking into this quite seriously.
Of course we are. Every complaint that is placed before us, we look at with the seriousness due to it. The complaint that you are referencing was initially misdirected. It was not received at the usual mailbox that is used for those types of complaints. It is now receiving attention. The Commission will look at it and will pronounce ourselves once we've had an opportunity to make determinations on whether the claims made, or rather the allegations made, can be verified and that there's credence to them.
Okay.
It would really be unhelpful indeed to begin a speculatory exercise in terms of saying this or the other thing. Let's rather allow the process to be investigated properly, let determinations be made, and then let's communicate that to the country.
So you say that this will be obviously before the elections, 11 days left. So how close are you to making a call on this?
It is receiving attention within a matter of days, maybe a week or so. There has to be a position on the matter.
Okay, let's go back to logistics now, because we've got 26.5 million voters, eligible voters that are there ready to cast their votes in the respective provinces around the country. Are there some areas that are posing a little bit of a worry or a concern, especially due to these dire weather situations that we've been finding? I mean, in KZN, we're seeing some areas may even be declared disaster zones.
Yes, we are looking at the impact of the recent inclement weather on the infrastructure. Our colleagues are working together with the provincial disaster management teams to assess that. It may be that we will have to put more temporary infrastructure, such as marquees and so on and so on. But that is receiving the attention, and decisions have been made to replace voting stations to the extent that circumstances demand.
Yeah, because it is. I mean, we're looking at visuals now coming from KwaZulu-Natal, and it is very devastating. And, you know, let's hope that this doesn't deter people from actually going out to vote, because, I mean, when you're in this kind of situation, is it a concern for you that some people may feel, look, we can't get there, we can't vote, it's just too difficult for us at this point?
We should be able to, as part of the totality of the state, to recover and get the infrastructure repaired, or at least alternative infrastructure created. Yeah. Hence, we're working with provincial disaster management teams to ensure that where roads are not passable, that interventions are made. and where voting stations have been washed away or washed out and so on, we get marquees in their stead, and so on. So at least the 11 days gives us some little bit of leeway to assess and intervene as may be necessary.
One of the big concerns, however, is that some people, and we've heard their devastating stories, whether it be from KZN or the Eastern Cape, have lost everything and literally have the clothes that they're wearing. They've lost their IDs, they've lost their any form of document that can prove that they are registered. But what's going to happen now?
Our colleagues at Home Affairs will be in a position to issue to those communities, rather members of those communities, temporary identity certificates which are competent for purposes of voting. So they are not losing their voting rights as a result. They will be given temporary identification certificates and they'll be able to vote using those.
Okay, so that's something very important for those individuals affected to note. Special votes, I know that that was a big call for that. However, it's closed now. So if you haven't registered for a special vote, i.e. somebody who cannot make it to the polling station because they are working or for any other reason, you cannot apply now, or can you still apply?
The application closed on Thursday, the 18th of April. We received towards the end a substantial number of applications by manually, so those are in the final process of capturing. And we are also preparing our staff, the teams that we need to be visiting hospitals, homes of people who are infirm and so on. And come the 6th and 7th, we'll be in a position to discharge our responsibility to accord to those people the necessary opportunity to vote.
Okay, so that happens the day before the elections.
On 2 days, the 6th and the 7th.
Correct. Okay. Now, I know that the Results Centre is always a hive of activity during the elections, the National Results Centre. You are going to be launching that and opening it officially on the 30th. So that's coming up now in the next few days. How is construction going? How are things looking there?
We are almost complete with construction. Final touches here and there, a bit of final artwork that needs to go in. But other than that, the rock is done, and it's our indicator, if you like, of our preparedness, is our indicator of readiness. That's why we want to invite significant sections of our population to say this is the facility, is a facility that we're going to use to indicate the transparency that is embedded into the electoral scheme in our country.
Yeah. One of the interesting aspects that I really enjoyed that you did this particular year was a website that you launched. And I think that was in conjunction with media monitoring. Yes. It was the real411.org.za, just to educate people, to ensure that fake news doesn't spill into these elections, any myths. How has that been taken up by the public?
There's been a good take-up, being a new initiative, and cases have been reported there. And the team of experts, our complaint committee, has assessed those complaints, and most of them, unfortunately, are not really fake news in the true sense of the word. But it's good that people are using that platform, and that the committee of experts that is looking at these issues are convening, and they refer matters to us if they think that those are within the realm of the electoral code of conduct for us to investigate further.
Will that continue on voting day? I mean, if people see anything that is irregular, perhaps ballot papers being burnt or stolen or fixing on them, I mean, is that somewhere where you can go as a concerned voter?
No, look, the platform is created purely for issues of disinformation.
Okay.
In other words, tweets or postings that are manifestly false with the aim of influencing the outcome of the election. If, for instance, ballot paper are stolen, the normal 0811 8000 number works. Our social media platforms are avenues that are available for members of the public to say, we've seen something irregular, could you please look at it and come back to us? Those facilities remain available to members of the public.
Okay, just finally, I know that one of the big issues was the IEC and its election list that it submitted, and whether or not that was going to be changed or amended. Have you heard from the party? Are there any changes that they're asking for on that list, or is it final?
No, the IEC has been consistent and categorical about the fact that once lists are submitted, they are final. In fact, a day before yesterday, we published the final lists, having looked at the objections and so on and so on. So there is no possibility ahead of the elections to amend the list of candidates.
All right, we leave it there. Thank you very much for talking to us. Good luck tomorrow for the voting that happens for 29,000 South Africans that are living all over the world, the most in London, and they'll be going to vote on Freedom Day, the 27th of April. So that should be happening, and those results will be brought back to South Africa and then counted. Mamabolo is the Chief Electoral Officer at the Independent Electoral Commission. Right, let's